Has the ruler of Brussels at last met her match? While thousands of tractors are literally laying siege to the heart of the European Union, a much more dangerous risk has fair arrived through a secure line from Washington. The headlines are shouting almost the farmer's resistance, but the genuine story is the caution that was fair hand-delivered to Ursula von der Leyen's office.
Simply subscribe to USA Close-Up and press the bell icon to stay connected with us.
Is the joined together states approximately to drag the plug on the European project? For months, the roads of Brussels have smelled of burning tires and manure. The EU-Mercosur bargain, enormous trade pact that ranchers call a passing sentence, has turned the European farmland into a war zone. But as von der Leyen frantically tries to balance the requests of worldwide exchange with the seethe of her possessed citizens, the US has just issued an ultimate proposal that changes everything. This isn't fair almost agriculture anymore. It's approximately an embarrassment that reaches from the wheat areas of France to the back rooms of the White House. Why is Washington abruptly turning the heat up on its closest partner? What was in that caution that has the Commission's top authorities in a state of panic? And most vitally, has Ursula von der Leyen made a mystery guarantee she can't keep? Don't see it the challenges on the streets, see it the numbers on the balance sheets and the noiseless threats from over the Atlantic. We are seeing the starting of a political collapse that may redefine the world arrange in 2026. The weight is mounting, the clock is ticking, and for the to begin with time in years, Ursula von der Leyen has no place left to hide. The chaos right now unfurling in the streets of Brussels is not fair a protest. It is a total breakdown of the social contract between the European elite and the individuals who nourish them. To understand why the joined-together states just issued a ruddy caution to Ursula von der Leyen, we have to see at two parallel catastrophes, a gigantic financial fraud and a trade bargain that looks more like a betrayal. The Phantom Cultivate scandal. The start that touched off this fire was the discovery of a systemic debasement ring within the Common Rural Policy CAP. In early 2026, the European Public Prosecutor's Office, EPO, dropped a bombshell report. It uncovered that over 700 million euros in emergency agricultural appropriations, cash implied to help family ranches survive rising energy costs, had been siphoned off. The investigation, centered in Greece and parts of Eastern Europe, uncovered what investigators call phantom farms. Criminal syndicates, supposedly with help from high-ranking nearby authorities, claimed subsidies for thousands of hectares of non-existent land. While genuine ranchers were going bankrupt, the Commission's oversight failed completely. Von der Leyen's reaction was to solidify all payments to the locale for audit purposes, effectively cutting off the lifeblood of blameless agriculturists mid-season. This is the outrage that turned the countryside into a powder keg. The Mercosur betrayal. While ranchers were battling for their survival, von der Leyen was secretly finalizing the EU-Mercosur Exchange Pact. This bargain is the centerpiece of her 2026 economic motivation, but for European farmers, it is a passing sentence. The deal would allow the import of 99,000 tons of meat and about 180,000 tons of poultry every year from South American countries like Brazil and Argentina. The catch? These items are produced using pesticides and development hormones that are entirely illicit in the EU. The hypocrisy is what fueled the rage. Von der Leyen has went long years imposing the green bargain on European farmers, forcing them to cut outflows and reduce fertilizer utilisation, which skyrocketed their production costs. Now she is opening the entry doors to cheap, unregulated competition from overseas. It is a double standard that has unified farmers from France to Poland in a way we haven't seen in decades. The U.S. red line. This is where the joined-together states enters the outline. Washington's warning to von der Leyen was not out of sympathy for the ranchers. It was a cold, calculated move to ensure American interface. The U.S. Office of Commerce has watched closely as Brussels endeavors to pivot away from American agrarian exports in favor of the Mercosur bloc. The warning delivered to the Commission was blunt. Do not use green benchmarks as a weapon against U.S. merchandise while giving a free pass to South American. The political dislocation of von der Leyen. The warning highlights a profounder truth. Ursula von der Leyen is losing her grip. Inside the EU, Emmanuel Macron has already distanced himself from the deal to spare his own political skin. In Germany, the Consolation government is paralyzed by the threat to their car industry. Von der Leyen's geopolitical commission is now caught between a domestic rebellion and a trade war with its most critical partner. The U.S. warning is a signal to the rest of the EU member states that von der Leyen's ruler of Brussels era might be nearing its end. By coming short of managing the agriculturist scandal and attempting to force through a controversial exchange bargain, she has created a vacuum of administration that Washington is now stepping in to fill with threats. The tractors aren't just blocking streets, they're blocking the path to von der Leyen's re-election or future political begwith. The U.S. has made it clear they will not offer help her put out the fire she started. The ruler of Brussels is now standing at a juncture where every path leads to a potential disaster. On one side, she faces the raw anger of millions of ranchers who feel they have been sold out to global interests. On the other, she is gazing down the barrel of a trade war with a United States administration that has lost its patience. The warning from Washington is more than just a diplomatic reminder. It is a political guillotine. If Ursula von der Leyen pushes forward with the Mercosur bargain to save her legacy, she risks triggering U.S. tariffs that may annihilate the European auto industry and dive the Eurozone into a deep subsidence. But if she backs down, she demonstrates that the European Union is no longer a paramount power capable of making its own trade decisions. The questions no one in Brussels wants to answer are now inevitable. Is this the end of the von der Leyen era? With her credibility destroyed by the Phantom Farm debasement embarrassment and her green bargain under attack, can she even survive the next political cycle? Who is actually running Europe? Is it the elected authorities in Brussels, or is it the lobbyists for global trade and the threat of American sanctions? What happens to the food on your table? If the ranchers lose this battle, Europe will become completely dependent on imports from nations that don't follow its own safety rules. Is that a price you are willing to pay for global trade? The tractors are still in the streets, the fires are still burning, and the warning from over the Atlantic is still reverberating through the halls of the Berlaymont building. Ursula von der Leyen has went long years trying to build a geopolitical commission, but in her pursuit of global influence, she may have overlooked the very people she was summoned to protect. Is this the moment the European project begins to unravel? Or will von der Leyen find a way to escape the trap she built for herself? One thing is certain. 2026 will not be recalled for its trade deals, but for the day the agriculturists and the world's superpowers at last called the EU's bluff. What do you think? Should von der Leyen listen to the U.S. warning and scrap the Mercosur bargain, or should she double down and face the consequences? Let us know in the comments below.